Welcome to my review of Contra Force for the NES. And this is one of those Contra games that's not too well known for the NES. You know, there's Super C and the original Contra, which are really well known, but this was kind of like a side Contra game. I think originally when this was developed, it was actually another game and they just reskinned it as a Contra game. So it definitely shows, but it does have some aspects that are similar to the old Contra games. But it does suffer from a lot of technical issues. The game is pretty much plagued with slowdown, which really kind of fucks up the controls. It makes it so that a lot of times your bullets don't come out. You know, there's big gaps in your bullets and things like that that will cause you to get killed. It is one-hit deaths, but the game is much easier than the other Contra games because you have unlimited continues. And although the stages are much longer than they are in the original Contra games, you can swap out characters at any time by going in this menu you see me going in. You can also pull some bullshit with the jumping. As you can see, you can jump as many times as you want in the air just by cycling in and out of the menus. And I believe when you go in and out of the menu, I think you need to switch characters or something like that to... or maybe not. You know, I don't remember exactly. I think you just pause the game and unpause it while you're in the air and you'll jump again. It's a weird glitch, and you can exploit the game heavily using it, which is something that I did. And I'm going to explain all that in my tutorial of the game, which I explained all the strategies I used. So, basically, you know, you can kind of just glitch through the air. And the game, it feels like, you know, it has pretty good stage layouts, but it's not quite on the level of the original Contra games. But there are decent stage layouts. It's just that it's plagued by slowdown. It is kind of interesting how you can glitch the shit out of it with the jump glitch, though. You have your usual obstacles and things like that, but like I said, the big problem is the slowdown. That's one of the bigger issues. There are some very unique features that the game has, though. It lets you switch characters at any time, and those characters, each one has their own set of lives. I think each one has 3 lives or something like that. And you can switch between all of them, but... you know, basically, if one of your characters loses all of his lives, then that's a game over, and you got to go back out to the continue and start the stage from the beginning. So what you want to do is let everyone die, I think, down to maybe the last life or something like that, if I remember right, and then you switch to somebody else. But yeah, you can also call in these other... teammates for co-op, but they're AI controlled, but they only last like about 5 seconds, as you can see in the bottom right timer. So they'll help you for a little while, and you can pull some bullshit with that, but you got to keep pausing and unpausing to call them in again. It's a very strange mechanic. It does really slow down the pacing of the game if you want to utilize it, because you're going to be pausing constantly, and if you're using the jump glitch on top of that, then you know you're really going to be slowing the game down. So there are some issues with that. But the layout is actually pretty good. You know, as far as the way the game is laid out, you have some overhead style stages, kind of like Super C had, and those are pretty good as well. They're all, you know, all the stages are pretty equal in quality. You know, unlike some games where the overhead stages are shittier than the regular stages, here they're all pretty balanced, and they all feel like they're, you know, pretty well made. But each stage is very long compared to how long it would be in a Contra game. But like I said, you have all these lives to work with by switching characters out. I may be wrong on some of the details about how it works with character switching as far as the lives and everything, because I haven't played in a few months. But that is a general idea. Whenever you go into that screen, you can also select assist. That's how you get your AI-controlled help from one of the teammates. You have different assist styles that you can select from. I usually just picked one and I just stuck to that. Because, I mean, I would use it just to pull a little extra bullshit, get a little extra firepower, but it's not super helpful. You can pretty much do everything you need to with just your character. There's also upgrades for all your various weapons that you can hold. You can switch between about 5 different weapons on the bottom left where it shows, and you can power each one of those up. And of course, if you switch characters, you can power their weapons up as well, as long as those characters don't die. If any of your characters lose a life, I think you lose all your power-ups. So, you want to try to keep them, but you don't need them. There's a lot of positioning bullshit you can pull, which I'll show in the review. There's definitely some bullshit you can pull. I think I actually may have not made a tutorial on this one because my playthrough of this game was so sloppy. I pulled so much bullshit. And, you can see it in the playthrough video that I posted up, but it was just a real sloppy run. Usually I would want to post something cleaner up for a tutorial, I don't just post games that I don't just add commentary to games that I just merely beat. Usually I have to have, done, pretty cleanly on them. Occasionally I even go and refine the footage to get really good footage of how the optimal boss runs and shit would go, and stage runs and all that kind of shit. Like Ninja Gaiden 3 for NES, I did a no damage tutorial showing all sections with no damage. And that would be one where I put a little extra work into to get the footage. But with this, it was just kind of, I just beat the game. It was just kind of a sloppy playthrough, and I did pull a lot of bullshit, but you can see it in the video, and I didn't really know exactly where I was going in the stages, so there was a lot of aimless wandering. But it's actually a very easy game if you, take into account that you have unlimited continues and you have something like 6 or 8 lives to work with in each stage, since you can switch characters to keep them all alive. So there's also a lot of positioning tricks you can pull off. This one didn't work out so well, but there is a lot of positioning bullshit you can pull to make the bosses super easy. Sometimes it's not a positioning trick, sometimes it's just spamming a certain move in a certain area, but it makes the bosses mostly very, very easy. So the main thing that you have to worry about is the stage, but you can skip a lot of parts of the stages by doing the jump glitch. And you can kind of just bounce through a lot of areas. There are some ceilings and shit like that, so you can't just jump through the whole game. But you can pull a lot of bullshit with the jump glitch. But even considering if you don't want to use that, I would say the layouts are pretty solid. I wouldn't put them on the level of the mainline Contra games for NES, but I think the level layouts are pretty solid. The problem is that the game is plagued by a lot of slowdown, but other aspects of the game are quite cool as far as the character switching and, each having different weapons that they can cycle between. And, the AI assist is kind of cool, but it is problematic since you have to reset it every 5 seconds or so. It's kind of irritating. So you're constantly in and out of the pause menu, especially if you're doing the jump glitches. So it just wasn't a very clean tutorial. It wouldn't have been too exciting to watch. Especially because I beat a lot of stages before I even got a chance to lose all my lives on them and memorize them. So I was kind of inching through stages pulling bullshit. So really, to have a decent tutorial, I would at least have to either heavily edit my videos or just redo all the stages. And I didn't like this game enough to do the editing or to redo the stages. But I don't think it's a bad game. I think it's, a pretty decent game. I probably would have gave it a 7 if it didn't have so much slowdown, I think that's the main thing that kind of kills it for me is massive amount of slowdown. The whole game, as you can see, everything moves extremely slow. And the whole game pretty much runs in slowdown mode. So if that was fixed, I think the game would probably be maybe a 6.5 or 7 for me compared to other NES games at the time. But yeah, as it stands, it's probably just going to be in a decent range for me. But I do think it's a game, worth completing for the NES if you're looking for an easy kill. It's really not too difficult. It took me around 2 hours and 6 minutes, I believe, to beat. There was a really good tutorial already on the game by You Can Beat Video Games, and that one is really good. So, if you're looking for a tutorial, check out that channel and check out that one. There was really no need for me to even make another one, on top of the one that already exists. But yeah, it's a pretty easy game to kind of just inch your way through. So here I got this attack where I think every time you jump, you go into this attack that has invincibility frames. So the idea is to get on top of this turret and spam the attack and keep shooting down at the turret as you're spamming the attack. And then you'll destroy the turret. Very easy way to take out that middle part. And then from this point, it's super fucking easy. All you do is stay in the middle and shoot up at a diagonal angle on both sides to take out the remaining guns that are on the wings. And that's it. So, I mean, a lot of these bosses are super easy to exploit. So you could say that is another weakness of the game. The game doesn't quite have the level layouts or the, the boss fights to get it in that higher grade, And of course, like I said, the slowdown just kind of takes it down a few notches. Since it's not occasional slowdown, it's all the time. But you see, you have your little AI partner here. I'm not sure if this game is actually 2 players. I think it may be. I think you can, instead of AI, you can have a second player come in, I think. I never tried that. This was one of the cooler stages. This is one of the overhead stages, but it's pretty cool. You have to walk onto the wings of these planes from plane to plane, and you take out various enemies, turrets, things like that. It's a pretty well-made level. But again, you do have the issue of, constant slowdown. So now you're seeing the end of the game. And soon will be the final boss fight, which I'll show. And that's another one that's very, very easy to exploit yet again. So this is the final boss coming up here. And I couldn't tell you how balanced the fight is if you try to, fight it normally without doing cheap shit, because my whole goal was just to simply complete the game, and I exploited whatever I found. So, I wasn't playing it like a normal person would. So I can't really review it from that perspective. I don't really, when I play games, I'm not usually playing them from a normal perspective. I'm playing them from the viewpoint of trying to exploit them and get them on my kill list, So I'm not necessarily trying to enjoy the game or experiment or explore certain things unless I think it's going to aid in me beating the game. That's kind of where my addiction lies with that, and with the channel. It's a different kind of channel because it's mostly just about amassing kills with some extreme modes and super difficult games thrown in. But my primary objective is just to beat the game by any means. That's not a cheat code or anything like that. I'm also not really big into heavy glitches where you skip the whole game. But if it is in the game, I would still consider it legit if it's not a code. But I would write that in my notes, that I beat it using a glitch or something like that if it was really cheap. But yeah, so that's pretty much it. So for me, I'd give the game a 6 out of 10. I think it's a decent game. That would be a lot better if it wasn't plagued by slowdown throughout the entire game. And, I think if the layouts were slightly better with some better boss fights, I think it could be on the same level as the other Contra games. But, of course, and then there's the music, which it doesn't have good music or anything like that either. So, I mean, that wouldn't hurt the experience. But as a game, I don't think it's that far off from the other Contra games, but it would have needed some tuning. So as it stands, it's just a 6 for me. Let me know if you have any questions, and thanks for watching.